right. Well, I'd
well,
love to throw a wrench into y'all's whole voting process. So glad you could come on
well.
for that alone, Rafa.
To all of the Dorado gaming fans and the low jazz super fans,
They're gonna kill you,
we are
bro.
we are so
Miliana
sorry.
is gonna.
Um,
I gotta lock up tonight, dog. It's. I'm in danger. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Salt Mine. This is Season 8, Episode 3. Got there in time, figured it out. Leo's been caught at work, so we will not have Slayer joining us for this particular episode, but this is
A
Gordo,
likely
Quax,
story.
and special guest, Raafaa Casts.
Cat.
I started saying cast,
Meow.
but that's out of turn. Special guest, Raafaa Casts. Fresh
I
off
can
the
be a cat
NACL.
if you
We're
want
getting
me
an
to be a
NACL
cat,
play-by-play
Gordo.
one way or the other. How's it going, Raafaa?
Meow 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 meow.
Yeah, he's our little.
Meow,
He's our. What role do you play when we flex together? You're our. I feel like I always see you in mid lane. You're our little mid lane kitten.
No, I'm actually top lane most of the time because
Really?
I mean, when you play jungle Quacks, I'm usually playing top lane. I would prefer playing mid lane, but I mean, I can rock a pretty solid Gnar, and I
That
know
is
how
true.
to slam him. I know how to slam a Malphite and Norn when I see the angle for it. So
I will never forget the game where you were Gnar, I was Kindred, and I got a quadra kill because of you. I killed like 4 people in like 3 seconds because this man shoved like everyone into a wall. We had that game with Kangas a little bit ago. That was that was absolute cinema. So shout out Raafaa's Gnar.
Woo! Gnar Gaga.
All right, so we're gonna have a first for Salt Mine this time around. 2 firsts. One first is Raafaa being here. Welcome aboard, brother. The
Woo.
other first is that we're not gonna do our traditional all-star teams. We considered doing it for a while, and then we got here,
right?
And it's like there were 5 series played per team,
Right.
and the matchups are as a result, right, like completely incomparable. And a bunch of the closer races don't even have head-to-head matchups to look at, and it just feels like we would kind of just be reiterating a lot of priors, at least until some of these teams actually get a chance to like clash and in deeper formats, higher stakes formats, best of 5s, that kind of stuff. So we're going to kind of nix that this time around. We're going to talk about some highlight players. We're going to talk about our most improved. We're going to talk about Rookie of the Split, which is a 2-horse race. And I think those will be valuable discussions, but we're not going to bother this time around with the full 3 teams. And we will be back to that once the NACL adopts a format that supports it a little bit better. How's that sound, boys?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me. I mean, I think it's fair to talk about players and like not do a traditional power ranking because of what you said, Gordo, like 5 series per team. But I also just kind of feel like this split has felt not as serious as previous ones. And I don't mean that in like a disrespectful, insulting term, but like when I mean, how many teams have had like substitutes or people that weren't on their roster like play for them at some point during these 5 weeks? Like it's been a lot of the teams, right? Like we've had Will, we've had Retrozing was there for CCG, we had Mixture, we had Spirax and support, we had Perry for a long time with Conviction. I don't know. Like I also just feel like on top of the series or lack thereof that were played for the regular season, it's also that some of these teams just did not have their full 5. And so I think that some of the series that they did play, you like take it with a bit of a grain of salt because there was a player who isn't on the roster or wasn't originally on the roster playing for the team.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just like with that in mind, I also just feel like that's another element to it.
I think Cupid, Blue Otter, Dorado all played with their starting 5 all season.
Right.
and arguably Winthrop, who lost Denethor like 2 days before the season started.
I don't count Dennis. I don't count Winthrop. Like that was a right, and like I also don't like necessarily count Dardoch either, because like those circumstances.
Oh, so you don't count them as in like you're acting like they had the same roster all along.
Well, no, I'm not counting them in the sense that like I just think that when you get called up to the LCS, like that is a circumstance that isn't necessarily within your control or the player's control. Like when they get called up, they take the job. You know, like when you are an NACL tier 2 player and you get called up to tier 1, you take that opportunity, right? Like you don't.
Sure, but I think I'm curious on your take here, Rafa. I think it does contribute to like the fuckery, though, right? Like if you're talking about this split
I just
feeling
don't.
less,
Not to the same
like,
degree, maybe.
Yeah, if you're talking about this split feeling like less legitimate, less competitive, I think than some prior splits. I think the fact that like one of our finalists from last split loses their star player partway through for a rookie,
right,
is like I think that's rough, dude. I think that's part of. And obviously there's not much to be done about that, but I count them among like the 7 or 8 teams that did not get to field a consistent like roster that you would hope for to like look back on a regular season and feel like you could draw sweeping conclusions.
Yeah, I think the two biggest meaningful changes for NECL teams was not only Dardoch getting promoted, but I don't want to say that it was in the works, but I think I think behind the scenes there was potentially suspicions that XU was already on not on I don't want to say thin ice, but XU had already expressed that he wasn't the happiest with his current situation, and I think Dignitas were probably looking into for a jungle replacement at the end of spring off season, but they wanted to potentially give XU a chance and let him finish the season, but because it had already gone so terribly in the first week or so, they're like, all right, let's just make a change right now. And they also, the fact that they didn't want to introduce too many changes with Denethor coming in at the beginning of the season over Photon and replacing Photon. They probably wanted to keep the changes minimal so that they could just facilitate and focus on Denethor, but Dardoch comes in. But the one that is, for me, has warped the summer outcome so far is just not having Yuji. And I can tell you guys that for tomorrow's MU series, Yuji is still not in. So a lot of the coaches claim that they were communicated that the season was supposed to start later in the year, or that they were checking or I don't remember if they said that Liga ASA told us this at the beginning of the year, so some of our players had planned vacations or trips prior to that. But with Yuji being out this long, I'm not sure if, like, unless they thought that the season was going to be starting like in September or super late August. I don't know if I necessarily buy it anymore. I mean, maybe they were communicated that, but Yuji being gone this long, I really wish I knew what kind of trip he had planned for himself. Well, maybe if it's personal life, then that's just it is what it is. But I think it's a big dampener to MU season. Now, Aljun being the new mid laner, I think would have made things difficult for Yuji either way. Crimson now winning the starting spot. He was, by the end of spring, the better top laner than K. So I think that's a totally reasonable change. But now he's trying to do his best to facilitate that jungle role. Obviously, he's not Yuji, but I feel like Scary, Jerry, and Obstinatus as a bot lane duo, even if Obstinatus was gone for 1 week, they were quite a letdown compared to their spring split performance.
I actually think some of these other bot lanes have been, I don't necessarily know if I want to use the term like let down or disappointment, but I do think that we slightly overrated them going into the split. Like I would say that Cody Sun Zyko is like another example of this. Like I thought this is going to be, one of the best bot lane duos, and I think that Conviction, the problems with Conviction, I don't think are purely solely on the bot side. Far from it, in fact. But we could spend a whole episode on the CMD stuff, the split. But I do think that it is a little bit sad that Cody Sun and Zyko have not panned out in the way that we were hoping for, because although I think at the beginning of the split we didn't think he was an upgrade over Tactical, we still thought this would be a bot lane very capable of like dominating you in the laning phase. And frankly, maybe the meta hasn't contributed to that. Like lane phase domination hasn't been super in flavor for bot lane unless you're like planning to go Lucian Melio. Usually it's, it was mages for a while and then just have your support go on Camille and roam to the top side for a long time. Now I just kind of feel like Ezreal, Jhin are two of the premier options in that role at the current moment. So not like 2v2 extraordinaires, lane phase dominant champions. Maybe it just doesn't play into their strengths, but I still feel like regardless, it has not panned out in the way we were hoping.
I think
my caveat with Conviction, if I can just
go ahead.
Yeah.
Any team that has Tomio Insanity on it, I'm always going to be a little skeptical about whether their regular season performance is indicative of what their actual skill level is or what their playoffs is going to look like. It just
they're not a team
That's
with
a good
Tomio
point.
anymore.
You learned from spring. All right, maybe I haven't.
They're not a team with Tomio anymore, though, are they?
Like somehow whatever team Tomio and Insanity find themselves on, this trend tends to rub off on everyone else. Now, maybe that's just what is the word I'm looking for? Hyperbole, and maybe it's completely false, but it's just so crazy to me that the past 3 splits that involved the Tomio Insanity core team, where spring split Conviction and then Luminosity spring and summer from last year, all 3 of those splits, the team has a top team by roster individual strength, and they are kind of like, oh, these guys are a bit uneasy, they're not consistent, what's going on? They're like dropping games to lower seeded teams in the standings. They're barely scraping into playoffs whatsoever, and then by playoffs they just lock in, and then they are the best team in the league. And it's just like it would be really
what I'm hearing
nice
is they're gonna shit stomp Cupid.
Well, again, what is Tomio back for playoffs? Are we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, he is.
All right.
He played this past week, so I would assume that he's
That's true.
back.
I wasn't sure if that was like if that was related to, because there were. I don't
he
think
just comes back for one series.
Well,
and
it's not a secret that there were.
bitch.
It's not a secret that there were suspensions for the last week, right? Like players had to sit out for behavior check reasons, and I wasn't sure if that was that, and they're like, uh-oh.
No, I think C2 Meteos has been a pretty upstanding citizen in the solo queue ladder.
Well, it would be Perry,
listen.
who I thought might have gotten suspended for a week, and then it's like, all right, we need him back. We need Tomio back.
No. From the interview, it seemed like the team or they had an agreement to have Tomio come back.
Okay.
Now,
well, that's what I get for skipping the interview. Sorry, Raafaa.
Yeah. No, you're totally fine. It's understandable skip. Now, that aside, as a representative of the NECL broadcasts, I would neither condone nor spread the opinions that I see happen in the community, but just, putting it out there from what people have said of lack of payment for this roster and the individuals on there, I wouldn't be surprised if they were protesting. If this was just their form of protesting the regular season, and trying to put a little bit of pressure and a little squeeze on the juices, and just making sure that, like, hey, listen, we can make it so that we don't make playoffs if you're not paying us. Now,
Yeah.
I know that I think at the end of the day, and I hope the players are getting paid, because it's fucking ridiculous if they don't. They are one of the best teams that we could ever field, and not being compensated for that is criminal. But I can also understand that at the end of the day, if they tried to put pressure, it doesn't work, and now that it's like, at the end of the day, do you care more about like sending a message and getting paid for that message, or do you care about trying to make another shot at promoting to LCS? You know,
Right.
so
Yeah. So what I had heard, and yeah, I'm not gonna act like I have like 100% transparency here either. I had heard that the payment stuff got resolved after a couple of weeks, and but getting Tomio back on board became a challenge. Like he had separate grievances. That's what I've heard.
okay.
I don't know that for sure. But that was word going around there as well. We're way past that point now, but
Streets were saying.
I've heard like 1,000 different things about what's going on with Yuji. I've heard like it's Esports World Cup that was keeping him over there, or not Nations Cup. But now that's delayed a year, and even then, that was never going to happen until like November anyway. That was like an off-season tournament. Like he was definitely over there to play in those qualifiers for a bit, but I don't know. I was guessing maybe he's staying just for other reasons, but who's to say? Sorry, my dog keeps going under my desk, and he is going to yank all my wires out of my computer. Go on, Raafaa. Make your point.
Qualifiers make sense, because that
Yeah.
was
Outta
on,
here,
but
dude.
yeah, there's no reason why he was staying there that long to prepare even more if the tournament itself was not scheduled until November, December. So
Well, didn't it get delayed or like postponed or
Yeah,
something?
now
it's
it's
postponed like a
postponed.
year now, but
Yeah, so there's no fucking point anyway. It felt like. Well, there was a point.
I feel
but
like it was. There's no way his plan was like, I'm gonna stay. If his plan was, I'm staying here until Esports Nations Cup, that was in like the off-season post Worlds anyway. So then he was never gonna be back.
right, but it's
So-
only been a 5-season regular. It's only been a 5-week regular season, so like I can't. Whatever. I mean, like it's not that far. Regardless, I think that like having our most recent split finalists, one of them doesn't even make it to the playoffs, right? The other one barely makes it to the playoffs. Like that is a little worrying. And I mean, we talked about this last spring during the regular season where we were like, oh man, Conviction looked really disappointing. Like CCG, like maybe we expected a little bit better from them. And then they clutched up in the playoffs and they ended up making it to grand finals. So who's to say, like, welcome to the grand finals, Contingent Esports and Conviction. But I also feel like I haven't been super satisfied with a ton of it. There are a few teams where I felt like the play has been good. Like I think Energy is the most obvious one. Like I think Energy has just been kind of bulldozing basically all of the competition they've had. Cupid, I think, has been doing really well. Like a special shout out that I want to give over to is Dorado. Like 4-1. We were predicting this team was gonna be fucking last, and they are second in, I think, the group we expected to be like a little bit harder because you're playing against competition from the opposite side, right? And like Maryville, Energy, and Conviction are all like on paper really hard opponents. So 4-1 for them is way above what we were expecting. So kudos to them, honestly.
Yeah, let's get into most improved in a second here, because that's going to be a discussion of who's your favorite Dorado player, probably. But spoiler alert. But I do think, to wrap up the previous point, though, I think that's the best summary, really, of I think why this regular season might feel a little unsatisfying, is because you go through everything we've said so far, right? Conviction's kind of booming internally, and or maybe they're phoning it in for the regular season for a myriad of reasons. CCG loses their star player. Maryville's missing their star player and is in the midst of roster changes. And it's just like these teams just did not show up the way we expected them to, and that's half our playoff teams from spring right there. So like, and yeah, Dorado stepping up and Contingent being better than expected and stuff are fun discussions and narratives to have, but they can't fill that gap off of in 5 series. Nobody's buying that Dorado is like a true substitute, I think, for what those teams could have been. At least not at this juncture. Maybe they'll roll up in playoffs and they'll be really good, and then that narrative changes. But I think it's hard to say that at this point.
Miliana's gonna hunt you down, bro.
We're about to praise her players. She could deal with it.
Yeah, we are. She can put the knives and like all the weapons away. Like this is a Dorado friendly episode.
All right, let's talk about most improved player. I assume everybody has Dorado players, but if you don't,
I do.
That'll be an interesting conversation to have. For me, I think Low Jazz runs away with it. I think Low Jazz has had a nutty split, especially compared to prior Low Jazz splits.
I also said Low Jazz.
It's the year of Low Jazz, dude.
It is. I mean, Shibby is amazed right now.
Shibby finally got to cash in on the year of Low Jazz.
He really did.
It's his lowest League of Legends year in like half a decade, at least. Like, it's the least involved in NA Tier 2, Tier 3 that he's ever been. But the year of Low Jazz is here. It's upon us.
Maybe that's just how it goes. Shibby, the less involved he is, the more Low Jazz rises, and the more involved he is, the steeper Low Jazz falls. So he's like cursed to be far away when the lights are on.
Like a magnetic
his boy.
Polarity thing, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like for me, let me put it this way: the year of Low Jazz is like half a meme, it feels like. And I'm going to say it's not a meme at all. So that should tell you how improved my boy is right now. Because, I mean, my man has basically turned a meme / shitpost / haha funny moment, like content-wise for NA Tier 2, Tier 3, and fully transformed it into something that when you say Year of Low Jazz, you're dead ass about it. You're dead serious about it. So like a lot of credit goes to him. I will also say I think another runner up that I would give for most improved would be Adam. I don't think that he necessarily started as low as Low Jazz before this split, but like he's also been doing really good. And I feel like his stocks have been increasing pretty significantly as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next, Gordo, or
I think I let mine's also Low Jazz. Do you have a non-Low Jazz name, or is it a Low Jazz sweep?
I have a couple of counter arguments just to entertain the masses that are.
I think it's close, actually. Yeah. I think there's a case to be made for Adam, for sure. I think he's also very good this split. Like I thought that Adam has been unimpressive, I think, for me so far in his NACL tenure. But I felt like this was really the split where he got like way back to what I felt like was the core of his play in ACL and stuff when he was still under. Like it was those melees, right? It was like really impressive on like the Yones and the Silases of the world. He got to play a couple of really good Silas games this split. He got to play a lot of Galio this split. I thought that was really good. He had a Yasuo game in there that they lost, but it's cool that he feels empowered to pick that stuff. So I think he's a runner-up and a closer runner-up than a Low Jazz sweep would imply.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I want to hear your guys. If you
what do you got, Mark? What do you got?
So I am. I had a conversation about this with Cubby a couple nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about most improved because he also was prefacing the fact that people might be Low Jazz pilled, and on behalf of Cubby, I'm going to bring forth another contender for most improved.
Ooh.
Decoy.
Because
Low Jazz from spring to summer is doing the same thing because Low Jazz performed higher than expectations were, because spring expectations for Dorado were these guys are lucky if they escape promo relegations going into summer. And not only they did that, they were one series behind playing in playoffs. They were that close. And I'm trying to go through stats from spring just to kind of like double check like how much Low Jazz has improved from spring to summer. I don't know. I don't remember who we put as most improved for spring, but in my heart, I want to feel like we did put Low Jazz there. But if we didn't, then it probably puts more credence to give it to Low Jazz in
Who
summer.
did we
But if
put?
we,
I'm going to check for who I put.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I apologize. I'm not sure who you guys put, Rafa, but I'm gonna go and double check who I put.
Yeah, I do not know where I would have stored that information or where that would have gone in our NACL fixture
Oh, I didn't write it
documents.
in here. Okay, hang on. I got to go dig through my.
I also would like
files.
to bring up while Gordo is looking. I would also say that if we're talking about non-Dorado players, my vote would probably go to Griffin. Unironically,
the jungler,
you know, yeah,
like Ole Miss jungler.
Yes, Ole Miss Griffin, not FlyQuest Griffin. I was super not impressed with Ole Miss last split. I just kind of felt like he performed well in a good amount of their matches. Like this guy has the third highest KDA in the entire league, and the two people above him are Dardoch and Aeon Crystal, who have a little less than half the games he has 11, they've got 7 and 8 respectively, so they have like less games, and I feel like he still has like a pretty I'm wrong, he still has the third highest KDA. It's just behind Music and Kizno, who's dominating everybody. So still really good, still number 3. I just kind of feel like relative to the expectations I had prior before the split, like he definitely surpassed mine.
All right.
On the decoy point, by the way, my most improved players last split 1, 2, 3 were Phi Mini, Music, Sushi. Phi Mini feels like he was the layup pick last split. No, because he was like bottom of the league.
That makes a lot of sense.
The last time he was in the league, so I think Phi Mini was an easy pick, and then
yeah.
He
went from
there's not really something like
this
that.
Guy's this kid's got potential, but his team sucks. So what can you do? To holy moly, is he just the best mid lane in the league?
Yeah,
that's.
I think
that's
Decoy has an interesting argument to be made, if only because I feel like he was such a black hole in spring. Like he was not competitive, I think, with a lot of our top lane pool in spring. So like the fact that he is. Like, going from there to where he was this split is a big jump. Like, just he's moving along on the number line a solid distance.
So, I think I know what happened to our most improved for spring split and why I can't find it. I think it's because Liga Ace / Riot, whoever makes the decisions for this, they did not do a most improved award for last split. They only did. They cut out one of the following awards. We still did an MVP / MVP prospect award. We did a All Pro, and we did a Rookie of the Split.
Yeah, which I'm sure was.
But we
Fiji.
cut out one award. Fiji was the Rookie of the Split.
You didn't count Obstinatus and Nobody Loves Redemption like I love Redemption.
Not yet. My man had a couple too many oopsie Nico Pop Blossom Flash combos that
no, I think
Fiji's
a fine choice. I'm not a hater like
that. But yeah, so I remember Fiji winning Rookie of the Split officially last split, and I don't think we had a most improved. So most improved should actually be for the entire year.
Then it's Phi Mini still, I think, as the layup, right?
Oh shit. Oh no. there's gonna be so many low jazz fans that are. Oh, hey, I need to ping the talent chat right now. This is diabolical.
Wait, you guys forgot that because you didn't do it in spring, you forgot about 5 mini. Oh no.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I may have changed the future of. I may have just taken this award from Low Jazz. Never mind, Miliana is going to execute me. I may have just plucked this award out of Low Jazz's hands.
All right.
All right.
Let it
Well,
be
while Rafa
known.
does that, Rafa's got an emergency to discuss on this awards. But yeah, I think if we're going to isolate it to this split, though, then I think Low Jazz probably runs away with it, unless you want to make a case for one of his teammates, probably the solo laners. I feel like Hub's not in the conversation only because I feel like Hub's always kind of been solid, just waiting for.
Oh boy, something really funny happened on
team
Mark's
to,
computer just now, and I'm very interested to see what it is.
Let's go.
You just saw his reaction.
Well, I'm
What
always
happened?
happy to do my part.
As soon as I brought it up, everyone's like, "Oh fuck, it is 5 mini." Oh man. Beatdown's just like, this league fucking sucks, man.
Let's go.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'd love to throw a wrench into y'all's whole voting process. So glad you can come on for that alone, Rafa.
To all of the Dorado gaming fans and the Low Jazz super fans,
they're gonna kill you, bro.
We are so sorry.
Miliana is gonna. I'm gonna. I gotta lock up tonight, dog. It's. I'm in danger.
But Low Jazz definitely deserves to be in the top 3. Maybe second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Depends on how much you blame music for last year. IMO, because I think music was music was sick this year compared to last year.
That roster was
two rosters.
Well, so yeah, the 2 rosters that music was. Oh yeah, because music was on Supernova
and Blue,
and then Blue Otter.
Oh, Blue Otter and CCG.
Blue Otter in spring, and then CCG in summer, right?
Summer.
Yeah, both were bad. Both did not work out. Both were relegation territory teams.
Yeah. The funny thing about anytime I bring up that music is doing really well in the jungle, I always think about the mobility interview we did where he's like, "You kidding me? Music gets player of the series and he gets to be a jungler with 3 winning lanes? Wow. Jungle's OP."
Apologies to Blue Otter, by the way. They were not relegation in spring, but they did miss playoffs in 2025.
Honestly, man, mobility is such I'm not sure if I would vote him like the MVP of the regular season, but Mans is like sometimes MVP in my heart. I feel like
he would be my all-star 80 carry. He would take it over Cody Sutton for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I
probably.
have mobility as for what it's worth. I have already submitted my ballot because I have to as a talent. Otherwise, if I don't submit mine, then the broadcast talent votes overall will become weaker and weaker. And I think we do a lot of discussion on, even though like we agree that the format makes it so that it doesn't feel as deserved as it normally would. It's like we still have some agency to be able to try and hopefully influence it to who we feel like would be the most deserving for it. So mobility is my number 1 ADC for the split.
Yeah,
just based
I'm an MVP in the context of like best player in the entire league. But like I think that mobility, seriously, it is so fucking good. Like he's got the personality for it, he's got the mechanics for it, he's got the macro for it. Like I genuinely think that this guy's next up every time I see him. So just shout out mobility. Do we want to talk about rookie of the split? I mean, there aren't a ton of there's never a ton of options, but do we want to talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting race, obviously, between Aeon joins too late and doesn't have the success, so I think he's out. And so I think it's between J Rockets and Inflame.
Yeah.
which I think is an
Yeah.
interesting conversation. It feels hard to attribute. Like, I think Inflame was good on Dorado. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think he did a great job. He's obviously the higher finisher. But it feels like he like slotted in kind of right where Redemption was in a lot of ways. Obviously with like some champion pool differences, but still pulling off, I think, similar like high level engaged play that I think is what the team needed out of him. And I think J Rockets kind of blew a lot of expectations out of the water. I think he did really well up against some solid top lane opposition on a team that felt like on paper they were supposed to be struggling. I mean, I think a lot of members of that contingent team surpassed expectations as well. Not quite as much as Dorado, but still in that category. So I think there's a debate to be had, and obviously they play very different positions, so it's hard to. There's a little bit of apples to oranges here. It feels like similar to the Fiji Redemption.
Yeah, what do you
discussion from
value
last time
more?
around.
Do you value like strength of competition, or do you value overall placement? I think is maybe the argument to be had here. And then I mean, just which role do you generally think is like more difficult to stand out in? Can also be like an argument that or a part of the argument. I personally would probably give it over to Inflame because I do value results. And like I said, I think this Dorado squad have all really stepped up. But I feel like J Rockets is on the right track. Like, I think that a lot of people, when they talk about Johnny Rockets, it has been his mentality, his approach to improvement, and how he is able to absorb information to get better split after split. So I'm not worried about Johnny Rockets inevitably taking some awards as time goes on, but I do think that Inflame, just relative to the situation that surrounded Dorado, Inflame wasn't even supposed to fucking be in this split. It was supposed to be Redemption. I think his ability to just immediately get on that team and start doing really, really well with those circumstances in mind, like, probably puts him over the edge for me. But I do want to preface that J Rockets is definitely close between the two, and I still really like J Rockets as a player and as a person.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I lean Inflame as well. I think you end up like I agree. Like I think there's a lot of good. I guess you would call it coach speak or teammate speak for J Rockets on his mentality, on his improvement. I think he did better than expected. I still don't think he's like a top laner in the league, though. At least not yet. I look forward to what that could look like next year. If he's still competing with contingent. And then I do think, like, it feels unfair to say it's by default because it's not. Like, there are other, J Rockets was a contender, and in a different split, I think he could have won it. But I think Inflame just, like, does his job on a team that way exceeded expectations. It almost feels unfair to deny it to him.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Raafaa?
I am unfortunately spreading the news that most improved player is not a split award, but a year award, and all the people that were going to vote Low Jazz are now very depressed.
Oh man!
But we're on the rookie conversation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
It's so funny to me.
not to. I was listening for the most part,
No,
but
you're okay.
I do have a civic duty to inform
No,
people
you're
because
good.
there's many that were going to submit tonight before the the game started this week. Yeah, I give it to Inflame. I think J Rockets was the only other possible rookie. Aeon Crystal might have played too few games to count? Question mark.
In my mind, yes. In our
See, that's
personal...
a weird one because he did play like. I guess he played half a split. He played 2 series, right? 2 series and then the qualifier match.
This format's dookie, man.
He played exactly 50% of the series. They played 6 series and Eon was in 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. after seeing the LCQ games from Johnny Rockets, he was given his Yone, and there was a couple fights that he had a really bad opener to the fights, and it almost cost Contingent this series, or at least it cost them one of the games of that series. So,
Yeah.
I just have to give it to Inflame over just consistent performance and output. But I'm with you. I have high hopes for Johnny Rockets. I think the most important thing to me about a player that is starting their career or making their tier 2 debut is how much they are able to take away from each split and how much they can reflect and build upon it in the next splits. And I think J Rockets has one of the better mindsets that reminds me a lot of the players that now are in considerable positions to be the best in their role as Western players. So
Well, that's a
Yeah, I
great
mean,
jumping off point with Johnny Rockets and how he did in the last chance qualifier. Let's talk about those last chance qualifier results a little bit. Just because it is going to be the last time, really, this year that we see the losing teams, because the promo tournament is going to be. It's basically going to be Winter Split 27 is what we
yeah,
are
that's what I'm hearing.
assuming that there's no other like major structural changes to what Tier 2 North America looks like. In which case we may have to rename the podcast, but we'll figure that out. In the meantime, assuming that we will see these teams again in Q1 27, where we will likely go back and revisit them, we could give a little eulogy to CCG and Blue Otter here. Let's start with Blue Otter, man. Not their year in League
Yeah,
of
really
Legends,
not
at the
their year.
very least. You know, in Game Changers, they've done well. You know, especially with their you know, standing up of a whole new event and everything. But for NACL results in particular, I don't think they're very happy with this year. I am happy that
No.
Munchie gets to play as Master Yi again in their one win in the last chance qualifier. Is not enough to take down Conviction. Feels mad unlucky to have to play Conviction, like a Conviction with something to lose in this series. Boy, that doesn't feel good. I think you would have started off this split hoping you're playing against an Ole Miss or something in this slot, but that is not how the split played out. So odds are stacked against them from the beginning, but also, I don't know, man. They obviously went 0
Yeah,
and 5. It's not like I don't think you would really give them an edge against anyone. So
No, I mean, I feel like just for Blue, like it was a year where they tried to build around Munchie, right? They really wanted to put like a lot of supporting pieces around this extremely high octane, volatile jungler, and it just doesn't feel like it's been working out. So my question is like, where do they actually go from here, right? I feel like Blue has always been very methodical when it comes to their roster building. They've always had a very clear goal in mind with the team and who they want to play around. So when that doesn't work for two splits in a row, what does Blue Otter do? Because I feel like every year since they've joined Tier 2, they've had at least one split where they can look back and be like, yeah, we did good, or we did all right, or you know, maybe it wasn't great in the regular season, but like we clutched up in playoffs and the vision of where we wanted this to go was achieved in some degree. I feel like this is the first year since they joined a few years ago where that is not the case. So when that happens, what is going to be the reaction from them is kind of my question, because I think playing around jungle, playing around Munchie did not yield the results they wanted, obviously. And so like, do you stick with him after this point? Do you continue to try and build around him and just kind of look for more stable pieces? Or do you just say like, fuck it, blow the whole thing up and let's try and build around another lane? And so I think this puts Blue in a really unique position that we haven't seen from them before. And I'm interested where they go from here.
I don't know how much I agree that the team spent the year playing around Munchie. I feel like I
Well,
would have
building around Munchie,
sure.
it felt like.
I think they built around Munchie. I feel like we saw a lot less of like what he played 2 games all year, right? And I don't mean to like. I mean, he was a one trick for a period of time.
I mean, are we really?
I don't mean to
putting
imply
the
it's
bar
not
as-
about the Yi specifically.
Yeah.
I think it's about that like we didn't get to see a lot of his like. I guess his most played is the Fury for the summer, so you did get a fair number in the Fury games. But I think if you look at like the year in total, I mean, this man was putting like the Vi and the Wukong and the Jarvan in the bag, like everyone else, I think. And so I feel like they didn't really. That's not his identity to me. That said, I wasn't like clamoring for Munchie to go into NACL this year anyway. So it's not like whether you played to, I think, like his absolute, like square peg, square hole, like identity to a T or not. I don't know how much of a difference that makes. I just don't think that that's what they did.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't know. It's just weird to me, like flashing back, 10 months ago or whatever. It's 10 months is way too many months. Flashing back 6 months or so ago, whenever they were building these teams, it feels weird to me that like it. Obviously, you can't predict the meta for the whole year, but I feel like if you were gonna have a jungler that's gonna play Pantheon, Vi, Wukong, Jarvan all season, like it's interesting to me that they go with Munchie and not a guy like Eon, who was pretty hyped up as one of those guys that I think could have made his debut earlier this year.
Well, and so
it feels like if you're not going to be playing like carry junglers most of the time, I'm surprised that Munchie was the choice. Is my point?
Yeah, and I think it's funny too because in summer we got a team that was willing to put carry junglers for their jungler basically like 90% of the games, which was contingent. Like they gave even when it wasn't working, they're like, all right, Kaido, we're going to give you Aatrox. We're going to give you the Kha'Zix when it's open. Here's a Kindred game. Here's a Graves game. Here's a fucking Olaf game where he just shreds everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I felt that Blue wanted to have the identity of contingent in the spring split. It didn't really work out. They kind of switched gears, which made Munchie a little bit less comfortable. And they basically took away Munchie's edge with some of these carry junglers to try and make something a bit more stable work, because what was happening in spring, where they really were honing in on trying to give Munchie his characters, like that was not working. So
an asterisk to that too is we don't know what it's like internally, right? So it's like
we don't know what it's like internally.
It could be they try these
like
scrims and Munchie can't dictate a game the way that Kaido does, right?
Right. It just kind of felt like Blue lost their confidence in Munchie's ability to play these more unorthodox carry-esque champions that weren't adherent to the year's meta. If that makes sense? Mm-hmm. Like I think Mark, as a jungler himself, probably would be able to chime in here, right? Yeah.
I even got a chance to sit on some Blue Otter scrims early before the start of spring season. And one of the things that they were trying to make a big focus for Munchie, since this was his first time going into tier 2, they knew that this guy was a fantastic carry jungler in solo queue from his Master Yi and his Rengar play. And this is the first time that we've seen a jungler actually be given Master Yi in a pro game of at least NACL. So that is electric. Just insanely cool to see that happen. But the thing was, I think in scrims early on, Munchie looked a lot more confident because he was being very vocal about where he wanted to go, what he needed from his team, and what his conditions were. So, and I know that both Slayer and Hawk were the only people from our broadcast team that had any prior knowledge of Munchie, since he was before me and the rest of the broadcaster team's time. So
he was after your time, kind of in that sphere.
Yeah, he came up in tier 3 after we moved on from tier 3 and were mostly tier 2, tier 1 at that point. And from what they told me is that Munchie was not a good player, or Munchie was very, very, very extremely feast or famine, most of the time famine in tier 3, and had no real direction whatsoever. So I was hopeful that Munchie was going to work out. And I think the first week or two, Blue Water actually had somewhat successfully facilitated a more confident and vocal Munchie.
Right.
But then just from stage results, it seems like Munchie lost a majority of that confidence and was no longer able to play the map as fluidly as it first seemed like in the first couple of weeks. Because I remember he had like a Jungle Kingdom game in not the MU series, but it was another series they played at the beginning of spring. And then when they played against MU and he debuted the Master Yi, that game looked really damn good for like
really
the first
winnable,
15, 20 minutes. Yeah. But unfortunately, with that kind of jungler, as soon as you fall behind the snowball curve and you are just even, then it's really hard.
It was against
and
Dorado
then,
at the start of the split, by the way. Raafaa.
Yep,
Their win.
yep.
Right.
That makes sense. So it's just one of those things where I think over time, Blue Water as a team was starting to really underperform in a lot of their roles. I think Samikin was supposed to be like a top 3 mid laner going into that split, and he wasn't even the top 5. He was very underwhelming. But shout out to him for playing a much better summer split with Winthrop.
Oh yeah.
Ariana not only was, even though didn't necessarily have super high expectations because this was his sophomore split, but he looked pretty underwhelming. Spawn also most of the time was the only player that was like consistently getting leads, and he just could never leverage them. He was never in a position where he could be the carry, and he clutched up for the team.
Yeah.
So
I think with Ariana and Samikin, I mean, this is gonna be a really short point, because this is spring split, right? And we're talking about summer split. But like for me, it felt like since Samikin had joined Blue, he had played with top laners who, since they promoted, were very stable. Like if you think back to it, like you've got Lawrence, you've got Quacker. I feel like, am I missing anyone else? I feel like those are the only two that have been on Blue before Ariana. But like those two players,
even Lawrence is like pre NACL qualification. It was pretty much always Quacker.
Right. So yeah. So like Quacker and like I guess Lawrence with like an asterisk, right? Like these are both top laners, very self-sufficient, very capable on their own, and just like they enjoy weak siding. I think Quacker, you can also kind of look at some of the splits he had that weren't great. But like point is, Samikin never really had to allocate resources to help his top side out. Like he could always kind of do his own thing. And I don't really think Blue ever played for mid to roam around and affect the side lanes, or specifically affect top lane to really influence that side of the map. And with Ariana, that was like a different story. Ariana is a little bit more green. Ariana likes when he's able to carry and play on side lanes and dominate laning phase. So I felt like the onus was on Samikin, not just to facilitate Munchie, but it was also in a way to facilitate Ariana. So like that just kind of made his job a little bit more difficult. Now on Winthrop, I think that all of those pieces, most of those pieces are really self-sufficient. So it lets him kind of do his thing like he was originally on Blue when they promoted. So that's probably like my reason on why I feel like he's looked better on Blue. It just kind of feels like the synergy has felt more reminiscent of like when Blue Water originally promoted into tier 2, if that makes sense.
That's fair. Thoughts on CCG and their loss to Contingent? I mean, that's another 3 gamer. Really wish these were best of 5s, by the way. Both of these go to 3 games.
Yeah, same.
You really wish that since relegation is on the line, you really wish this could have been a series that goes the full distance, but is what it is. CCG, it feels like, really exposes a bit of like looping back to Mark's point at the start of the show about how Dignitas were kind of trialing and, waffling back and forth between whether they wanted to keep XU on for the whole year or potentially bring in somebody else, and Dardoch was trialing even while NACL was going on. Like, that's what we've heard. I think that's even what Jonathan confirmed in some of his vlogs about it, is like it when promo relegation is on the line and you're an org like CCG, it has to feel so awful. Like, obviously they're happy to get a player into NACL or into LCS, but it also like
Right,
has to feel
timing.
so bad just getting kind of like used as a feeder like this in real time in your what should be your split to potentially make the promo tournament and try to qualify for LCS, which is a real pie in the sky goal for a team like CCG. But still, you were in the finals last split. That would have been enough to make promo tournament if you were able to run it back. And you're just like, yeah, like an LCS team could just sit there, like keep you at arm's length and take your best player at will mid-season. And you just kind of have to deal with it, and now you get relegated, and you might lose your NACL spot over it. It just sucks, man. It's a hard thing to find solutions to, but it does suck.
Yeah, I mean this team going from spring finalist to then not having Aojun or Cody Sun in part of their starting lineup, and then Dardoch already kind of poised to be promoted to LCS. Like, talking to Only 35 about it, this roster was pretty much rebuilt from the ground up and had to be a different dynamic based off or compared to what they had in spring split. So once Aeon Crystal came in, I think Only 35 took it upon himself to try and be the leader and the main voice on the team. But one of the things that I love about Only 35, and I think right now, as much as it is a strength, I think it's one of his weaknesses right now, is that because he cares so much, and he cares so much about being able to play well and being the person that his team can depend on, I think he gets into his own head and he becomes his own worst enemy in the game. He tries to overplay and overforce situations. He's not accounting for a lot of individual deaths, getting caught out on missions to scout for vision, or dying because he's trying to force a play too hard and the rest of the team is just not ready for it, or he is giving his life up way too easily versus like what the payoff is actually getting. And I think it just continues spiraling. And in that series, you could tell that like there are times that Only 35 found really good engages and moments and picks, and there are other times where it just seemed like it was a cascading effect of just, oh god, one thing has gone wrong and now the pressure is getting and it's starting to mount up and build up and build up and build up, and you are just desperate to claw yourself back out of that hole. But the more you struggle to try and resist the fall, I think the more
quicksand.
Yep, exactly.
Quicksand. Yeah. I sincerely hope that despite them losing to contingent, they try and keep a majority of this roster, because I think that
I also agree.
The thing that really kept this team from being able to perform well was honestly just time. Like, they got picked apart like fucking cotton candy. Mark just said it. They lost their mid laner, and I know that, there was the off-season thing with like Shochi, and so they went kind of back and forth there, so maybe didn't have enough time to like get that all sorted out before the season started, so they maybe were lagging behind in terms of just time to get their synergy together in that front. And then like they bring in a new AD carry that is very different stylistically from what Cody Sun is. I think Spawn and Cody Sun are about as far apart from an AD carry style as you can probably get. And then Aeon Crystal comes in midway through. So like, I think it was literally just one thing after another for CCG. I really hope that they run it back in promo tournament and they look good doing it, because I think that if this team just has a little bit of time in the oven, They can cook something. I was a huge doubter for this team, like going into the split, even before the Dardoch news about him going to Dignitas. But I legitimately want a redemption story from this organization because I think ever since they've joined the league, they've been very up and down, but they've been fun to watch. I think they've come with a lot of very creative roster builds and just generally seem like a staple in the NACL at this point. So would hate to see anything happen to CCG with a situation like this where it just kind of felt like they didn't have enough time to get their ducks in a row before they got fucking eliminated.
Yeah, I think that's super valid. Yeah, so I mean, best of luck to them in promo relegation. We'll see what that looks like at the beginning of the year next year. Anybody want to say anything about inaugural playoff matchups before we call it a show? We're at about an hour here. We are starting off with Cupid Conviction, so I fear a run back of last split where one of our very strong teams ends up facing a resurgent Conviction right at the start, and maybe it throws the whole bracket for a loop, right? That was last split where that happened, right? It was, it was MU Conviction right off the bat, and MU went right to losers bracket and got eliminated as a top 3 seed. Are we worried about that? Are we afraid?
I feel like maybe they've got the playoffs aura with them. I still think Cupid are going to take it though. I feel Cupid have looked consistent and solid throughout the split. I know this is something that we said against a lot of Convictions opponents in spring, but just trust me. Surely it doesn't happen a second time, right?
I have Cupid winning tomorrow, but I think Conviction will have a dynamite run through the lower bracket and win the entire split. Because it just always happens. It always freaking happens. So
yep. and then they get a rematch with Cupid in best of 5 territory, and they 3-0 them. GG.
The other everybody gets at least a best of 5 this split, by the way, because lower bracket goes right into best of 5. So that's pretty cool.
God bless.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
That being said, before I just want to say that when I look at the teams that I feel like would be the most convincing to challenge Disguise for promotion, I still think Energy is like the most consistent team that we've seen, and therefore they should be the favorites. I just have the inkling of suspicion that every time playoffs rolls around, Insanity just becomes the best player in the entire ecosystem, and it's just insane how many times that consistently happens. Obviously, Luminosity did not get a chance to dethrone Disguise last year with that Insanity roster, but also that was before Rahel just came in from where was he last? SK, but he was like he was an LCK journeyman, and it just went to probably the freest ecosystem he could have gone into and just pub stomped that series. So, and unfortunately Insanity was not enough because Darkwings also held his own.
Well, folks aren't ready for the back half DSG run.
For
every
Juhan, there's a Rahel. You know, you gotta have the just like the travelers coming around here. But when is Juhan coming to NA? We need that man in tier 2.
Don't speak that into existence.
Nope. Let that brother retire, or let that brother improve.
Hey man, he is a world
LPL
skin.
first.
Put some respect on Juhan's name.
All right, the other series I'd want to highlight is that we do have Winthrop versus Ole Miss in the quarterfinals. That's a long-standing rivalry there.
Seal. There you go.
That's gonna be a fun one. That's gonna be a banger. Ole Miss broke their loss streak on that recently, didn't they? They had been losing a lot, and I think they.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So that's a reignited rivalry if it wasn't already. I'm very excited to see how that match in particular plays out. New generations for both of these teams nowadays, but that's going to be a fun head-to-head keep an eye on narrative-wise.
The height of that rivalry was when Mobility and Shogo were on
Yes.
the respective teams. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
The constant banter of I'm Mobility's father in what was it? In collegiate, but then when it came to NACL, it was Mobility running Shogo. Trying to think about last year. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah, they were both there last year. Gosh, I mean, what is like? Because obviously I am like newer to the space than you two. What is like prime Ole Miss squad here? Because like I feel like when I joined, the team was
It's the one
Stray.
with Shogo and like Uncle Sam, probably.
Yeah,
right?
like Stray, Icelandic, Uncle Sam, Shogo, and Rhino are like
Yeah.
the big names that screamed. Is that like prime Ole Miss?
Yeah,
Well,
because Ole Miss is
Prime
a
Ole Miss
later
also
program.
being first Ole Miss because yeah, like Gordo said, they're a very more recent development in collegiate space.
Yeah.
Right.
Like most of
Yeah.
Shogo's titles were with
St.
USC,
Thomas.
St. Thomas. Yeah, and that team was like, the other.
Yeah, that was
collegiate
before my
super team.
time. Let that
Yeah.
sink in.
Yeah, St. Thomas was, like Porsche, couple of different junglers. They had Dardock at one point. They had Kitsuo at one point. Robbie Bob.
Wasn't that the
And they
team
had
where
Dardock.
Daption dropped the
Yeah.
trophy?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shogo.
It's a durable trophy.
Yeah, and then
the
they had
delivery on that line from
some-
Kangas was
yeah.
fucking gold.
Yeah, Shogo, and then sometimes they had Daption, sometimes they had Rovex, right? They had one of them. They went with Rovex, didn't they? Or Chookies?
St. Thomas?
Yeah,
I thought it
Yeah,
was-
yeah, you're thinking of
yeah.
Chookies.
I'm thinking Chookies.
Yep,
Alright.
yeah. That's the name I haven't heard in a little bit.
Yeah. Top laner was TC Porsche for both runs, and then jungler went from Kitsuo and Dardock. Robbie Bob was mid laner both times. You had Shogo as ADC both times, and then Chookies as support for both times.
Gotcha.
Hell
A
yeah.
little bit of lore there for me. Thank you, gentlemen.
Little bit of lore. All right. Well, anyway, love to see that rivalry continue. That's going to be a huge series to watch this week, as is Cupid versus Contingent, to see just which version of Conviction. Jesus, it's been a whole split, and I'm still doing that. Let's see if I ever stop. In the meantime, this has been fun. Thanks for hopping on, Raafaa. Glad I could throw a wrench into the whole most improved player voting process.
Very, very important catch to
A
have
massive
had.
wrench, bro. You like destroyed the engine.
That's okay. I'm happy to have been a part of it, even in that way. Thanks for hopping on, man. It was awesome talking to you. And thanks everybody at home for tuning on in. Catch Raafaa on Cast this week. I'm sure you'll be on a couple of days, right, man?
Tomorrow,
Very
right
nice.
away.
All right, so
Which is
today,
why
by
I
the
will
time
not
this
be
drops, I'm going to
available
edit this
for-
in the morning and drop it by the
Yeah.
before the game starts. So catch him live probably right now by the time you're listening to this, or in the recent past. Otherwise, tune into the rest of the series. We'll be back throughout the playoffs with more coverage and discussion. And till then, take it easy.
Slayer is a